Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I am back again with another design team project for Birch Press Designs. For today's project, I'm going to focus on the Kaleidoscope Heart layering die set, along with their stitched heart frame die set. Now, that's a little bit different because the stitching's on the outside, and I'll explain that in a second. So this is the Kaleidoscope heart. It is absolutely gorgeous. And of course that centerpiece also comes out. So you kind of get two designs in one, or three designs if you look at them all. So I'm actually going to be using Bristol paper, or excuse me, watercolor paper, Canson XL watercolor paper. And I'm going to use all three layers. So we're going to kind of do something different. My sentiment is going to come from the Lingo Thanks set by Birch Press Designs. So I'm going to take my three layers and I'm going to set them up onto my watercolor paper, and I'm going to die cut those. And then I'm going to use one of the frame dies, the heart frame dies from their other set. Now you can see the stitch is on the outside. The largest frame die in that set matches the size of the Kaleidoscope heart layering set, which I think is cool. So you can insert this into your piece with the stitched outline. So I kind of really like that. You can see just how well when you die cut these pieces, just how quick. One pass through the die cutting machine and all those pieces, you just have to flick it and they'll just pop right out. So I'm going to get all of these layered. Again, it's kind of looking like what I'm doing in my previous one, but this has got a different spin onto it. So I'm going to layer all of these together. Now the glue that I'm using here, excuse me, is my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. And I'm just always, when I'm putting my glue on my other piece, I'm always going to make sure that I take, or at least I try to, I make sure I take a acrylic block and make sure I put that on there. This does two things for me, at least. You know, liquid adhesive has water in it. Water absorbs in paper. It could warp, so I want to keep it as flat as possible, especially with what I'm about to do with this. And plus, it'll have it adhere quicker. By that pressure, the glue will grab into this. So it's kind of like the two reasons why I do that. Anywho, so always know that when it comes to these layering dies, the top layer is the most dainty, is the most delicate, and really is the layer that you can do the most with. But they are beautiful when you have all of the layers put together. So you can see that piece sets in. So now I've got two ideas here, and then by putting that centerpiece into the heart, it comes up with the third. So I grabbed 4 of my distress inks. I grabbed Spun Sugar, Festive Berries, Abandoned Coral, and Seedless Preserves. So I'm going to tape my background panel that I used the stitch heart frame on. And then I'm going to take all my layers, and I just put a little bit of removable adhesive there, and I'm setting that in place. You can see how very well that sets in. And then on my palette, I'm putting my distress inks, and I'm going to add water to them. This is an idea that I came up with. Yeah. So now I'm saving those back pieces. Wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with those little bits that come out within the center. So here I am. I'm going to add the water, and I sprayed my piece, what's taped to my board, and now I'm just going to drop in color. I'm moving the water around. Here comes in some more water. I want a lot of water on this. So now I'm just going to drop the colors in. Again, don't need to have watercoloring experience here because I am so not a watercolorist. I'm a dropper of the watercolor. Let's go with that. A watercolor dropper. Let's call it that. So this is all I'm doing. I'm just dropping these colors. I've gone from light to dark. I'm making sure that I'm placing them in different areas. I want them to blend. I want them to bleed together. And with that water that's already there, I also wanted to make sure I had a lot of tape down on this piece to try, because again, whenever you add water to watercolor paper, it's going to buckle. It's going to curve. So by taping it, we try to keep it flat. Now you can see it's still curving a little bit because I've got water puddling onto the side, but for the most part, that tape is going to keep it flat. Now I probably should have went from edge to edge, but I knew I was going to trim this down, this panel down again, so that I could get it to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which will be its final size. So I'm just adding color. Now remember, these colors they're going to dry back, meaning they're going to dry lighter than what you're seeing here, which again is what I'm looking for. I'm trying to make sure that I take away any of the white spots that are sitting in the background. So I'm really just moving these colors so that they'll move. I do use my heat gun to dry the background, which helps push that color back. Again, it gets lighter. Now what I want to focus on is just the center heart. I just want to focus in on that. So I want to do a second layer that's going to come on this. I want to deepen these colors. And to deepen your watercolors, you come in with a second layer. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. And again, I'm just dropping. What's also happening with this heart, if you can see, with the color, with the more concentration of color, because I didn't add too much water this time, it's going into the crevice of the paper. Whether it's that center piece that's sitting inside the heart, that section's getting darker. Whether it's in the layers that are coming off, it's going into the side of the paper. And because that side of the paper is like exposed, it doesn't have the smooth coating that it does. I hope I'm making sense through all of this. Oh my goodness. That it's going to get darker because it's going to go into those fibers quicker. So that's what I was looking for when it came to this. Just a little bit. I wanted it to pull. Going to do all kinds of splatters on my background so that that stands out as well. I also cut one more layer, and the layer that I used for this is the first layer, the original layer, the one that you start with, the one that sits on the bottom. And I'm just doing all kinds of splatters on that. Just because, again, I came up with this idea. Now, I did make a mistake, but that's okay. We kept on going, and I'll let you know where that mistake was. Again, my mind was racing. I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't think it all the way through, just like I always do, because it's habit. But I'll tell you the way, I'll definitely show you the way I did it and how you can fix that. So again, I got a lot of splatters going on here. Absolutely, because I didn't want that one to be watercolored. So I'm going to set my panel in place. I'm definitely going to use my liquid adhesive because again, this was a watercolor panel. I want to make sure that it's flat. Trying to put my double-sided tape on this would probably be difficult because there would be a lot of cutting. And sometimes with that 2-inch film tape that I have, it's difficult because it is so strong. So I'm going to place that down, and I do let that dry. Of course, I have splatters all over my table. Didn't realize that. So I have them on the back. It's okay. It's a handmade card. We're good. So I take that same die that I used on the to cut out that panel, and I wanted to go through my card base. Again, standard A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Make sure it's open when you run it through your die cutting machine. Yeah, I've done that many a times. And I wanted to have that opening. So what I'm going to do now, I've also cut from the frame die a piece of vellum. So I'm going to put glue on the splattered heart and centerpiece, and I'm going to put the vellum on top of that. Now, here's the mistake. What I should have done was put the vellum in between my watercolor background panel and my card base. After I die cut through both of them, I shouldn't have glued the piece down first. I should have set it with temporary tape, cut through both, removed it, put down my piece of vellum, then put that over, like you would a shaker card almost. Because then you wouldn't have had the concern that I had. So I have this opening. Everything's adhered, and that's fine. So I'm going to adhere all these layers. So the beauty of it, it's when you put the two sides together back to back, it fits. It's uniform when it comes to these layering dies, which is awesome, because that brings in so many more ideas. So with that, now I have a two-sided heart. One side has the layers, the other side does not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my liquid adhesive and I'm going to put that around the edge, because I've got a thick edge going on here. I'm using thick cardstock. And I'm going to set my card base over it, and I'm going to push down. By doing that, I'm grabbing the glue and making it run along the side. So this will dry together. It won't, it would be, you would really, to pop that out of the card, you would be destroying the card. So it is grabbing there because it is a nice secured fit from the two dies. I don't suggest doing it though. Make sure you take your piece of vellum between the two pieces first after you cut it out. The things we learn and I teach you. Yes, don't do what I do. I'm using the sentiment, you're in my heart. Get it? You're in my heart. That's where the idea, I tell you, it's the sentiments that inspire me to create. So of course I'm going to attempt to cut this with a straight line because I cannot. Using my little post-it to hold on to this piece because my chubby fingers are not going to get in there to make sure that it stays straight. It always moves, and I believe we have success. Yes. I'm going to use my liquid adhesive to cut that down. I used a piece of cardstock that matched closely with the color scheme that I have going on there, and I cut the one end on an angle and have the other going right up to the edge. So when you open the card, you see that. It's a little different. I think it's kind of cool though. Yeah, but again, after you cut through your two layers, put your vellum in between, then glue your panel down. It would be a lot easier. So, of course, I grabbed my gems. I love my gems. These are the Pretty Pink Posh gems. I will have them all. Yes. So I'm just going to have fun. Now, I wanted to make sure that there was a gem in the center on the outside and on the inside. This is not adding bulk to your card. It's no different than if I popped up that frame using double-sided tape. Matter of fact, it is thinner than that. And now that's the only gem that I put on the inside. You can put more on the inside. I'm now just going to put gems going around the heart in the center piece. I mean, think about it. If you have gems going all throughout that piece, how beautiful would that be? So you could really go to town with these. I'm using the smallest of the gems from this set. And if they don't go in straight, I'm using my wax pencil to pick them up. I do come in with my craft pick just to straighten them out and push them down onto the vellum to make sure that they are secured. So that is our card. I hope you enjoyed it. It's something a little bit different, a little bit, but I am inspired by so many when it comes to these dies. There's so many things that you can do with them. So these things are great because I can just keep on trying to play with it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All the products that I used will also be listed down below in the video description. So if you want to check them out, please just click on the links and you can have fun snooping around the website. I will also have a link to the Birch Press Birch Press blog. That's a lot to say for me. So that you can be inspired by their other members of the design team. I hope everyone is having a great day, and I thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe and tune in for my next video. Here are a few other videos using Birch Press Design products I thought you might like that are similar to this. One's going to look very similar. Again, everyone take care, and always remember, be creative.